Hello, I'm Adam from No Rolls Barred, and as you can see, it's spooky season, and we have a nerve-wracking Halloween opportunity for you. One of our most popular series on the channel, and for a lot of gamers, it's our most popular series, is No Rolls Barred Plays Blood on the Clocktower, where we team up with Daddy Ben to play the esteemed social deduction game from the Pandemonium Institute, coming soon to its Kickstarter backers and beyond. Now, we've played a trilogy of games from each of its 3 scripts: Trouble Brewing, aka the simple one, Sex and Violets, aka the complicated one, and Bad Moon Rising, aka the one where everybody dies. Or at least they do, if I'm the demon. Very shortly, we'll be starting a brand new trilogy where we play custom scripts, which are user-created collections of characters, taking some from one script, others from another, jumbling them together to see what kind of chaotic, shambling monster can be conjured from the Frankenstein's spare parts. And this is where you come in. Yes, you watching this. Because for the first 2 games in our custom script trilogy, we'll be playing established, battle-tested custom scripts, but to close that trilogy out and to hopefully coincide with the launch of the game in a few months, we'll be doing a custom script created by one of you. Yes, it's competition time here at No Rolls Barred. We want you to put together a custom script of whatever characters you want, and here are the general guidelines. There must be more than 1 demon, 4 minions, 4 outsiders, and at least 13 townsfolk. You can use any characters you like. Trouble Brewing, Sex and Violets, Bad Moon Rising, or even some of the experimental characters that the company has designed over the last few years. Whomever submits the best script, be it the most balanced, most insane, or just simply the one that looks the most fun to play, decided by our judge, the one and only Father Benjamin, they'll get their script played by us, the NRB team. And not only that, the winner will receive their very own physical copy of the finished game, Blood on the Clocktower, signed by the game's designer, Stephen Medway. Boo! The competition is live right now, so get cracking. There's a fantastic website you can use to create scripts called, appropriately, script.bloodontheclocktower.com, link in the description. You can go there, you can mess around to your heart's content, and then export your finished script both as a PDF file and as a .json file, JSON, both of which you'll need to send to the email address currently on screen, clocktowercompetition@gmail.com, link at the top of this video's description. Your entry can just be the files itself, or if you'd like, feel free to include a description of why you've chosen which characters to go with which ones, maybe even hints for Daddy Ben on how you'd like to see the game run, which players playing which characters. Go nuts. But be aware that the cutoff date for submissions will be midnight Pacific Standard Time, the night of Halloween, October 31st. And after that, any scripts coming in won't be considered. Would you like the unique opportunity to help us create the perfect Blood on the Clocktower custom script episode? Well, now you can, as a way for both us and the Pandemonium Institute to thank you, all the people who have watched our series and have become enamored with these very, very silly characters and their very, very silly powers. We're offering you the chance to be the architect of Ravenswood's Bluff's destruction. Now, if you're feeling a little out of your depth and not sure where to start, I talked to Daddy Ben about what kind of advice he can offer anyone making a Clocktower script for the first time. Let's hear that chat. All right, Daddy Ben, thanks so much for your time. First of all, have you ever created a custom script yourself?
I've created so many custom scripts that I've lost track of them at this point.
Brag. Okay, well, that being, so seeing as you're an expert on both sides of the custom script, both running and creating, what's general advice for when you start? When you have the blank page in front of you, where do you start? Do you start with townsfolk, outsiders, minions, demons, or do you start with something else, like a concept?
I think, either basically is the right answer, because there are some people who are like, okay, I want to make a script themed around a medieval court, or I want to make a script themed around, I don't know, Naruto or something. Then you're obviously going to start with the characters that most sort of fit into what you're doing, and then you're going to look at them and be like, right, what do we have? What do we not have? Okay, we've got no drunkenness and poisoning. Let's put some characters in that can do that. So ultimately, really, either is fine. But there's like a laundry list of things that your script needs to do, basically, in order for it to be, you know, a top tier script, I guess.
Ooh, hit me with that laundry list.
So laundry list's got 6 things on it. Thing number 1, drunkenness and poisoning. If your script doesn't have any characters that cause people to become drunk or poisoned, then you might as well play werewolf, basically. And it's a great game, but it's not Blood on the Clocktower. If there's no drunkenness or poisoning in your script, then the good team are just going to roll over the evil team, because all of their information is going to be legit. And if just a handful of them are competent, evil teams stand absolutely no chance whatsoever.
Cool, that's a very good starting point.
It is indeed. Thing number 2, outsider manipulation. If you don't have any characters on your script, like the Baron or the Vigor Mortis or the Fango or whatever, characters that alter the number of outsiders that are in play, then the evil team are going to have a really difficult time bluffing as an outsider, because what's going to happen is they're going to look at the number that should be in. They're going to be like, right, two outsiders should be in. How many outsiders have I got? 3. Okay, great, at least one of them's lying. And if the one that's lying is the demon, game over. And if the one that's lying is a minion, probably also game over. So you need some characters in there that can change the outsider count.
Excellent. Number 3.
Number 3, think about hard confirmations very hard. So what I mean by this is, let's say, for example, you've got a good character on your script that causes people to not die when they're executed, such as the Tea Lady. If they're the only character on the script that can do that, if someone doesn't die when executed, that proves that the Tea Lady is telling the truth. And that's hugely powerful. Now, that's not necessarily the end of the world, but if you've got a load of that on your script, then there's a very real chance that the evil team will just get caught out by process of elimination. The best way to deal with this is to put an evil character on the script that can also do it. If you've got a good character in your script that can resurrect someone, maybe think about putting a Shabaloth in there who can also resurrect someone. And because you've got both a good and an evil character that can do that, you can't conclusively prove that it was the goodie that did it, and therefore it becomes more balanced, basically.
I'm getting an overarching theme, which is you don't want to ever provide concrete information.
Pretty much, yeah. The good team are already powerful enough as it is. Most of your job as a script designer is to essentially nerf them.
Oh, wow. Okay. Number 4.
Number 4, think about how demons are going to hide. So, basically, if you take a look at Sects and Violets, there's a really good example of this. All 4 of those demons, generally speaking, will kill 1 person per night. So, the evil team can construct believable worlds where there is a different demon in play to the one that there actually is. And that's really important, because once the good team figures out who the demon is, they can start really narrowing down which player is playing as that demon. If you take a look at Bad Moon Rising, that actually takes the opposite approach. There's so much chaos, there's so much death, there's so much resurrection, that even though all of the demons on that script are really different to one another, it's still quite hard to hammer it down. So if you've got a script where you've got 1 demon that kills 1 person a night, 1 demon that kills 3 people a night, and 1 demon that never kills anyone, it's going to be pretty obvious from day one which demon we have in play.
So it's almost like when creating a script, you are almost acting as the storyteller with a general proviso of help out the evil team in the beginning.
Absolutely, because you'll always be able to help out the good team later. But if the evil team start off getting their asses handed to them, there's very little you can do.
Interesting. Number 5.
Number 5, have at least 13 townsfolk on the script. This one might seem a bit odd, but you'd be surprised how many times I see scripts that have only got 11 or 12 townsfolk on. If you've got a game with 13 or more players in it, there will be 9 townsfolk in that game. So if you've only got 12 townsfolk on your script, that means that if we want to give the evil team all townsfolk to bluff as, we've used up every townsfolk on that list, which is bad. You want some breathing room. You want the opportunity for the evil team to maybe take a shot in the dark and guess a townsfolk to bluff as that isn't in play. You also want the good team to be able to do that as well. So you're welcome to put more than 13 on if you like, but unless you can explain what you've done, unless you can show me you're working out, then I need you to put 13 townsfolk on that script, please.
Excellent. Okay, a bit of meat and potato stuff there. And finally, number 6.
Number 6, please put your script in what we like to call standard Amy order. It's named after Amy, who's part of TPI, and it's quite simple. When you order the good characters on your script, you want to start with you start knowing. So if you look at Trouble Brewing, it's a great example of this. Top 4 characters, you start knowing. After that, put each night characters on. So each night you do this, each night you do that. After that, put once per game characters on. So, once per game you do this, once per game at night you do that, once per game you visit the storyteller, and then below that, everything else. The reason we ask you to do that is because it's much, much easier to read as both a player and a storyteller. If you put it in alphabetical order and abilities are just all over the place, it becomes quite difficult to kind of read it as a storyteller and decide which characters to put in play. This is quite important. It sounds arbitrary, but it is. So I'll go through it once again. You start knowing each night, once per game, everything else. That is the order for the townsfolk to go in.
All right, fascinating stuff. So to kind of end off this little discussion we're having, do you have any tales of glory / horrific tales of either really good combinations of characters that you didn't see coming, or just a really bad combination of characters which just kind of wrecked a game?
That's a really good question. Yeah, so there's this experimental character called the Heretic, whose ability is whoever wins loses and whoever loses wins, even if you're dead. And I made the error of having the only character, the only minion on the script that increases the outsider count was the Baron. And because there should have been 2 outsiders in play, and because the evil team knew that there were definitely all 4 outsiders in play, and because the Heretic is an outsider, the demon just killed themselves on night 1 and 1 because they knew for a fact that the Heretic was in play. So that actually is a perfect example that sums up everything that I've just described about outsider manipulation. You have to think really long and hard about it because it can literally give one team the game, and I made that error, so anybody can... Well, I'm not trying to make out that I'm amazing or anything, but I've done it a few times.
You're pretty good.
I made that mistake, so anyone can make that kind of mistake.
You're pretty good at this, Daddy Ben.
Thank you.
Final question, Daddy Ben. When you say kind of like you see a script and you're just like, that's fun, are there any... Obviously, you are the judge of this competition, so we might as well give people an inside track. Do you have any kind of things that immediately leap off as being like, oh, yes, please? Like certain combinations, certain kind of things that happen in game. What are the things that just leap off the page to you, or that you recognize from past custom scripts where you're like, yes, I want to run that?
So I think custom scripts are usually quite high level. They're usually played pretty much exclusively by veterans, or at the very least intermediate players. So characters that give opportunities for good players to go up against one another is usually pretty funny. Obviously, that you don't want the good team to be at each other's throat for the entire game, but situations where you've got good guy A who literally isn't allowed to tell people what he is because he's I don't know, like the Pixie or something, and he has to lie about what he is, but he knows some really good stuff. And good character B, whose job it is to execute people and find out what they are or something. These two guys are naturally going to be drawn to one another. They're going to end up fighting one another, even though they're both on the same team. And from like an objective viewer's perspective, that's really, really entertaining to watch. And because they're good characters, because they're powerful characters, there's usually a way for them to figure out that they should be working together. And watching that process happen is really, really cool. And I think one of the coolest things about Blood on the Clocktower. So if you put characters on your script that have these interactions, that are going to be entertaining and fun for the neutrals, then we're more likely to probably go with it, because ultimately the script that we're picking here is going to be on No Rolls Barred, and ultimately the purpose of No Rolls Barred is to entertain people.
Absolutely.
I think that's fair to say. Am I speaking out of turn there? It's not actually
No, we're not high-end players. Some of us are high-end players. One of us is a high-end player. But no. We're here for the yucks. So keep that in mind. Yucks are plenty, please. Daddy Ben, thank you so much for your time, for lending your expertise. And yeah, is there any kind of like parting messages you want to say to the people taking part in this competition?
Sure, yeah. If you've got any questions you want to ask, if you want to ask how two characters will interact with one another, or if you just want to, I won't write your script for you, but if you've got questions about rules, if you've got questions about how characters work, don't hesitate to DM me on Twitter or just at me in a tweet or something. I'm more than happy to answer questions. Even if you just want a question, if you've got a question that isn't about Clocktower, or if you have a really good recipe for iced tea. I'm quite into iced tea right now, so if you've got like some awesome way to make it, drop me that message too.
Brilliant. At what Twitter handle, Daddy Ben?
Bungieman17.
Thanks, Daddy Ben. Get your character scripts in, folks. A quick last-minute reminder of the rules. Make your script with script.bloodontheclocktower.com. Export it as both a PDF file and a .json file. Jason! Email both. Remember to send both to clocktowercompetition@gmail.com before midnight PST, the night of Halloween, October 31st. We can't wait to see what kind of horrible concoctions you'll create. And finally, we'll close with a brief look at all the experimental characters that we haven't covered yet and what they do. Take it away, Terry.